For this lecture, we're going to be looking at asking and answering. Specifically, we're going to be looking at experimentation and what we do in order to conduct studies in psychology. We do have the scientific method. The scientific method is a process by which we develop hypotheses, we test hypotheses, and then we publish those results in order to have a peer-reviewed process, a rigorous understanding, and conduct quality research and have meaningful insights. We have several different kinds of experiments or studies that we might conduct. These are actually more like studies and less like experiments. Experiments involve some sort of manipulation. So let's talk first about case studies. Case studies, we're looking at a singular individual. Typically, we use these in clinical studies when we want to look at people who have very unique psychiatric situations, or maybe we're going to employ a new therapy. We also have surveys. You guys complete these all the time. You teaching evaluations, surveys given online. Even when you rate an app, you are creating a response to a survey. Naturalistic observation is when we go into our subject's natural habitat and we basically watch them interact, see how they engage the environment, individuals within the environment. That creates a lot of detailed notes and quality or qualitative information that we analyze. Now, experimentation is typically what most of us think about when we look at or think about psychology. In experimentation, we really are looking at cause and effect, unlike what we are talking about or what we have talked about in correlation. We are actually looking at cause and effect. And within that cause and effect, we have variables that we identify. We have independent variables and dependent variables. The remainder of this lecture or video is going to focus on identifying those independent and dependent variables. When we're looking at cause and effect, we need to understand how things are influencing each other. So in an experiment, we have what we call our independent variables. These variables are ones that are being manipulated in the experiment. These are the things that we're changing. So for example, if we're going to do a drug study, we're going to divide, very simply, we'll divide our subjects into two groups and we'll give one group a drug and one group a placebo. The independent variable is what's different between those two groups, which in this instance is the drug or the pill that they're taking. One actually has the medicinal value, the other one is a placebo. We also have the dependent variable. These are the factors that we expect to change in being influenced by those independent variables. This is what we measure to show change. So let's say I am doing a drug experiment and I want this drug experiment to impact anxiety. So I would measure the individual's anxiety before they've ever taken any placebo or medication, while they are taking those placebos and medications, and then after they are done taking those placebos and medications over an extended period of time. The independent variable is still the placebo and the medication, the pill that the individual takes. The dependent variable is what we are measuring, what we are seeing change on as far as for that individual within this study on anxiety. In order to recognize the independent and dependent variable, you have to kind of break down the summary of research. So here's a summary of research. There will be a statistically significant difference in graduation rates of at-risk high school seniors who participate in an intensive study program as opposed to at-risk high school seniors who do not participate in the intensive study program. We ask ourselves the first question: what is being measured? What are we measuring? Go ahead and pause this if you need to think about it for a little bit longer, but what we're measuring is graduation rates. We're measuring the rate at which students graduate. What are we manipulating? What is different between these two groups? The thing that is different between these two groups is that one group had an intensive study program while the other group did not have an intensive study program. We're looking at those individuals or comparing those individuals that participated to those individuals that did not participate. So here is another study. A researcher wanted to know whether the number of people present would influence subjects' judgment on a simple perceptual task. In each case, the other members of the group gave an incorrect answer. The researcher then noted whether the subjects conformed to the group's decision. Again, ask yourself the first question: what are we measuring? Go ahead and pause this if you need to, if you want to keep thinking about it. But what we are measuring are judgments on a simple perceptual task. How accurate are they, or how consistent are they in their judgment on those perceptual tasks? The second question we ask is: what is being manipulated? What is changing? What's different between these groups? Go ahead and pause if you need to. The number of people present. We wanted to know if the number of people present would influence subjects' judgment on perceptual tasks. Here's the next one. An investigator had 60 subjects watch a videotaped reenactment of a bank robbery. Half of the subjects were asked by police investigators to recall the event, while remaining subjects were interviewed by a police investigator while they were hypnotized. So, what's being measured? What are we looking at? Go ahead and pause if you need to. We're looking at the recall of the event. How accurate are they? How detailed are they? How quickly can they recall that information? We're also looking at what is being manipulated, which is whether or not the individual is hypnotized. Both of these things represent the independent and dependent variable. All right, so there you go. We have a participation that looks at specifically independent and dependent variables, so be sure to check that out. Till next time.